Hello, I'm Pro-A007, and this is a speedrun submission for Summer Games Done Quick 2021. I'm playing Syphon Filter, a third-person shooter released for the PlayStation in 1999. This is an any percent run with a time limit of 1 hour 10 minutes. Let's begin. So Syphon Filter is an interesting little game in the PlayStation
when does the operation
library. It came out in the wake of extremely successful shooting games such as Half-Life, Metal Gear Solid, and GoldenEye. This game kind of carves its own path with more Tomb Raider than anything, and even the developers admitted Tomb Raider was sort of their model going forward. They used that kind of template for a spy game. So this opening stage is just more about getting you acclimated to the basics. You know, there are a series of objectives you have to complete to stop this terrorist attack of a viral in Washington D.C., where they're trying to set off a series of viral bombs with, as we learn later, a Syphon Filter. So that opening section there, I took a mild safety to grab the M16 in the back there to give myself a little more ammo to work with for later on in this section. Ammo count is actually quite important in spots because you really need to have a good handle on it, because there are situations where you could really run low on ammo, and not having enough will put you in a real bind with some of these enemies. So that opening objective went fine, and now I'm going to take out Kravitz here and take out the computer in the corner.
But I don't see their uplink dish.
I'll trace it.
So next I'm going to be pulling the bypass switch for the subway so I can actually access the subway for the second half of this level. So what I did there with that switch is called an interact skip, where I'm pressing the square and triangle buttons at about the same time with an automatic weapon, basically to skip the animation of Gabe pressing or pulling or doing whatever with these objects. Each time I do it successfully, it saves about a second to a second and a half. So it's critical to learn this if you are speedrunning Syphon Filter. Now this guard here is kind of just being difficult. Usually I'm able to just roll around him and get through, but this time he literally blocked my way. His behavior is kind of RNG. But either way, we head down into the subway, where I have to place a tracker on a bomb and then try and find Romer, the villain of the game, supposedly in the lower levels of the subway.
Tell CBDC to get its guys down here.
So, nothing too complicated. And I'm doing another kind of variation on the animation skip as I'm climbing up things. It's not quite as noticeable here. It will be in the next stage when I have Gabe jumping and climbing on things. So now it's basically a straight shot to the end of the stage here, where it's revealed the bomb that is down here on the lower level of the subway is not actually a viral weapon, it's actually an explosive device.
Gabe, what's happening?
So, not a terrible start to this. That guard, about midway through that blocked me, cost me most of my time there.
Gabe!
Check.
So now we're on our way to getting out of this this fiery inferno, and the first thing we do is one of a few fire skips where I just roll through that open wall of fire and come out the other side. It's essentially a damage boost, and it saves about 30 seconds, because normally you're supposed to go all the way around, deal with some guards, and then come out the other side, but obviously not as fast. And it's best if you do that with a two-handed weapon. You could do it with a one-handed weapon, but rolling through with a shotgun or a sniper rifle or the M16 is best. Now, what you saw there with the climb is, as Gabe grabs onto the edge of the ledge, I press the up button and R1, the aim button in this case, and then as he climbs up, sort of in a speedy motion, as soon as his foot touches the platform, I press the R1 button again to complete the sequence. And this will come in handy throughout the run, and it will save about 2 minutes overall. It's a lot of climbing in sections. So here we just got a couple of guards that I need to take out. Usually it's the first two that are all that is needed. Now, there is actually a faster way of doing this, but it's very dangerous because the game can actually accidentally trigger a mission fail. Basically, instead of doing gas mains and then blowing up the doors, you could blow up the doors and then flip the switch on the gas main. But by then, the guards will already start spawning, and there's a decent chance that
I've spotted Mara.
The game will automatically trigger a mission fail instead. So it saves about 5 seconds if it goes your way, but more often than not it doesn't. So now this, and that's an unfortunate miss on Mara. Basically, you're supposed to go around, line up the shot, and hit Mara in the head before she starts running. Not fatal if you don't, it's about a 5-second time loss.
Leon, I'm on my way to the park.
I've set the pickup for...
Right.
So now we come to the park, which is the first really challenging level in the game. The main crux of this mission is protecting CBDC agents as they defuse 4 viral bombs located in the park. 3 of them aren't that bad. The second one is the most challenging because I have to cover a wide area. This one is pretty easy. All I have to do is take out 1 guard here, and I can just move on. The other bombs have enemy kill limits, minimums as well. The second one has 5, the third and fourth ones have 4 apiece. So, you know, this is somewhat RNG dependent, and it can swing by about 10 to 15 seconds depending on, you know, how everything goes. But it's really only the second one that can cause major issues, and it can be a run killer because if mission fails, you lose about 1 minute. So I'm going to position myself right here by this tree and give myself a decent angle. So we got... So the guards will come from pretty much every direction you can think of. Some will be aiming at me, but most will be aiming at the CBDC agent. This is actually good, still good pattern. So there's my 5. So now I'm just going to move on. Got to be careful here. If you go too far, the game will basically fault you for going beyond your mission operating area and will automatically trigger a fail. So that's why I stopped there, just to make absolutely sure that nothing happened. I'm going to preserve my my M16 ammo because I want to have most of it ready for bombs 3 and 4. Now that rendering thing that you saw where there was a black screen, that's a limitation of the game itself. Sometimes it happens, mostly early on in the game. So bomb number 3 here is a pretty good pattern. Got my 4 guards, I'm just going to move on. Alright, Now the reason I aimed in the corner there before the guard started appearing is usually there's a chance you'll get a guard right away who spawns from that corner, so that's a quick kill on him. So like here, I didn't see any guards immediately appear, so I immediately knew there was going to be one to my right as I started. So there's 4, and now I'm done. So the 4 bombs have been taken care of. So now we move on to the final third of this mission. First, I have to save 2 CBDC agents here on the tennis courts. You got to do this stealthy because the guard holding the CBDC agents hears me. He will kill both agents on the spot. So that's why I took out that first guard just to set it up, and then the rest was pretty easy. Now I have to go to this comm uplink here.
I'm getting interference. You must be right on top of their uplink dish.
And see how much slower the climb is without the interaction skip. It's...
Right.
It also, on top of being slower, makes certain areas later in the game much more risky of getting killed. So I'm going to ignore this guard here. I'm going to take out their trigger man, Marcos. I'm going to sneak up behind him and take him out from behind. Otherwise, he's going to run, and this turns into a chase otherwise. We don't want that. So now it's just a straight shot to the Freedom Memorial, where I'll face the first real boss of the game in Gerdu, who is armed with a flamethrower. The fight itself is actually pretty straightforward. There's really nothing to it.
I'm at the entrance. Tell CBDC to get their team moving.
Hurry, Gabe. You don't have much time.
So, with the shotgun, it takes 3 close-range blasts on his fuel tank.
Anton Gerdu. I hope Romer's paying you enough to...
Gabe, your dues were...
Right.
You can't hide.
The only thing with Gerdu is you want to stay out of his line of sight after you shoot him, and you just can't keep shooting and shooting
He's finished.
at him because his iframes won't have turned off. So the trick is to wait for that danger meter to start turning back on again, and then you can safely
We've
shoot
analyzed
the fuel
blood taken
tank
from
again.
Romer's men. It contains...
So now we come to the first of the FARCOM missions, and this opening section here is you're supposed to be following Fagin to a meeting spot where you'll find out he's meeting with Aramoff and your agency supervisor, Benton. We're going to skip a lot of that, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take out this guard and then run ahead of Fagin. He went left, so I'm going to go right, and I'm going to just slip past. I'm going to sneak past this guard here. Gotta be careful. You don't want to get too aggressive, because the guard will hear you if you make too much noise. Then I'm just going to take out these last 3 guards before Fagin can catch up. This saves about 90 seconds. So now the stealth portion is over, and
What are you doing
you
here?
have a sort of a mini boss fight with Benton. I'm gonna try and snipe him before he can
Fagin's run
move.
for it. Romer and Airman...
So
He's finished.
you really want to get rid of Benton as quickly as possible because he'll run all over the place, and he's actually very accurate. Most of the guards here early on have stormtrooper aim, but Benton is kind of the exception to that rule. With that said, the guards in this section of the game are much more dangerous than the guards in the first section, who really can't hit anything. These guards here will at least make you work for it. And some of them are wearing flak jackets, whereas almost no guards in the opening section were. And the number of flak jackets you'll see from guards will increase, particularly in the second half, until they're all wearing flak jackets. So the game really is kind of making you learn how to do headshots. Now this guard here at the back, he can go one of three ways. He can go straight back, or he can go to the left, or he can go to the right. This time he went straight back, which is actually the fastest pattern. So now, because of this climb skip, I'm just going to ignore the two guards shooting at me. Although they are doing... One of them is doing quite a bit of damage. But it's an acceptable loss because none of these guards are really going to be able to kill me. So fortunately, I couldn't get that G18 guard on the ledge to go. It's not required, I'll get him in a minute, but it's just usually easier this way. So now I have to shoot this elevator panel up above because the elevator otherwise doesn't work. Okay, so we have a guard waiting for me at the... When I get off the elevator, down he goes. Now I got rid of the G18 guard. So there's a guard down below, and depending on RNG, he could actually be targeting me, and okay. If that green dot keeps staying red, that means he is going to target me as soon as I get off the elevator. It's rare, but it does happen. You got to get rid of him quick because the time it takes for you to kick these doors open, you know, being the awesome action hero we are, you're probably going to run out of armor and health by then. So now there's going to be two guards here on this catwalk. I'm going to use the K3G4, which actually pierces flak jackets to get rid of them. So, pretty easy finish. It can be a little dicey in spots if you're not careful, but I didn't really have any trouble there. Had a couple of hiccups, but not bad. It's a little over 5 minutes. I tried to shoot for a sub 5 in that stage.
The entrance to the diner.
Right.
So now all the guards I'm going to be dealing with here actually are wearing flak jackets. I'm just going to take care of these two. I'm going to ignore the other guard on the right and just continue on with the mission. So now I got to climb on this this beam and crash through the glass. Now, there is a recent skip that was discovered. Well, it's not really, it's kind of another interaction skip where if you press the strafe buttons, you can actually kind of move a little faster, shimmying across those cross stuff. You'll see it again at the end of the stage. Now, it is faster, but it's also kind of finicky. It's a really delicate piece of timing. Basically, it has to do with how Gabe's hands move. You can't do it too fast, otherwise the movements are gonna cancel each other out. Ooh, that's not good. Basically, the ideal pattern is I want to get these two guards to not run into me, but they did. Now I'm in a little bit of trouble here. Okay, I'm gonna chance this.
Tell me where the virus labs are.
I don't know.
If you're too hasty, those guards will still be shooting as I'm coming into this room, and Mara will kill Fagin.
Now to get some answers.
Hurry, more security is on its way.
So now you got to be careful shimming across here because one of those guards is carrying a shotgun, and you know, if you're stuttering along, he will probably kill you. So now I'm going to shoot Mara as the scene fades to black, because this will actually save about 2.5 seconds on the cutscene. So it's a neat little trick that the world record holder Valkyrie discovered.
I've discovered why every mission in this investigation has been compromised.
Now this mission is a little tricky because
Check.
basically that was a bad start, but basically, okay.
Damn it!
Yeah, the guard. Basically, the ideal pattern is I want to get out of the stage. Get through the stage in stealth all the way to Gabrick, who's the base commander. That unfortunately did not happen due to a sloppy start, which means I'm going to take a couple of minor safeties here just to ensure that I get through this. And this will make it a few seconds slower, but it will also set me up to possibly make other parts the next couple of stages go faster. So it's kind of a trade-off, but the ideal scenario is you get stealth all the way to Gabrick or close to Gabrick, and then you can trigger the alarm, because by then it doesn't matter. The only trick here is because the alarm went off, the guard patterns are RNG, and some of these guards are pretty dangerous. So Gabrick's coming up as I try and plant the explosive. Okay, there weren't any guards, which is good. Okay, so I'm all set. I didn't take any damage, which is nice. His last words. Okay. You really don't want to take damage because that's extra time you're wasting grabbing flak jackets at the start of the next stage of the bunker and the stage after that on the roof. You know.
I found the power to the motion sensor.
If you take a little damage, it's not a big deal, but you don't want to be playing with your back to the wall.
Explosive. I'll trigger the timer once I'm on the roof and have disabled their radar.
Copy.
So I got rid of all three of those guards with the shotgun. Shotgun does one-hit kills pretty much on all these guards. So while the shotgun doesn't get very much use in this game, in this stage it's actually very useful. And the one benefit of triggering the alarm early is because I picked up that that shotgun crate, I save on PK-102 ammo for the next stage, and really want to do that really want to have as much PK-102 ammo as possible for the bunker, because you're going to be using it a lot, because there are a ton of animation skips. And as I think I mentioned, you cannot do the animation skip with a non-automatic weapon, so shotgun won't cut it. So even with that kind of sluggish start, I'm still not far off my PB base for that stage.
Leon, check.
So if you really want to practice your interaction skips, this is the stage to do it, because there are a ton of them in short order. Most of them around these SS-23 missiles we have to catalog. So yeah, the guards can actually shoot the door switches, but they really don't. It really doesn't have any benefit to you if they do that. Could have gone for the headshot there, but I chose not to. I don't want to miss by mistake. And there's my first interaction miss. Not a big one, though.
Gabe, check your fire. Damaging that missile could set it off.
So shooting the switch is obviously a little bit faster. It saves about 2 seconds. Now these missiles are on a timer, so there's really no point in doing the interaction skip except for the last one. So I've got 24 rounds left. That should be enough to take care of the last 4 missiles plus the remaining switches. That guard being there was unexpected, though. That kind of throws my plan off of its axis a little bit. You know, not shooting the door switch correctly either. So I'm just gonna do this in a kind of a quick zigzag.
I've got the last code.
So I should have just enough to make this work.
Get ready to lift off.
I'm ready.
you can do the interaction skip with an automatic weapon even if you don't have any ammo. It's actually a little easier.
Leon, I found the elevator to the roof. Get ready to dust off.
Gabe, the force is crawling with patrols.
So now we have the second boss fight of the game, which is you got to take on a helicopter. So this can be done consistently, but it can be dangerous if you're not in a good position for phase 1 or 2. So here's phase 1. So I'm gonna skip the cutscene where Romer presumably kills Leon. So now I'm gonna. So what I did there is I basically fired an entire clip into the chopper before it passed overhead, and then I fired another clip as it was flying away. And that should do enough damage to make this a 2-cycle fight. And just barely. I could have done the first phase a little bit better, but the second phase was right on the money. So now we come to the end of Romer's base section, and we have the most dangerous skip in the game, what we call fire truck skip, where I'm going to climb up this wall here. I'm going to roll onto a fiery inferno, but I'm going to do it in a specific spot so that I can just skip through a lot of this section, this stage, and get near close to the end. So what I did there is I did a hard side roll, pressing circle and the strafe button right on top of each other, so that Gabe rolls off of that ledge and right down onto that flaming wreckage, and then I just did a couple of crouch rolls to get over to the other side. Again, very dangerous. If you miss, your Gabe is going to die, unfortunately. But it's well worth it because it's a 20-second time save.
My God. Syphon Filter.
So a 26:46 first half.
One more thing.
Not bad for a demo. My ideal time is somewhere usually in the 26:20 range, usually. So now we come to the start of the second half of the game. We come to the stronghold levels, where Gabe is largely going to be spending a lot of his time taking out the scientists and saving test subjects infected with Syphon Filter virus. So these test subjects, again, I'm doing an interaction skip, and it's a slightly different combination than the normal ones, where I'm basically pressing square then triangle rather than doing them at the same time. So the timing is a little bit different, but it produces a faster interaction if done correctly, like that. The first one, where you kind of saw Gabe kind of lifting his head, we call those blessings, where Gabe is kind of doing a variation on what he should be doing if he were saving the test subjects. And that is about 1 second time loss every time he does the blessing. So, but rather than cycle back to the shot, I just used the PK-102 to simulate the interaction skip there, because cycling through weapons is much slower in this game than it is in subsequent Syphon Filters, where they kind of did away with that. So now, okay, I missed that one. Again, you see how much slower that is every time I don't do it. So I got to be careful with those gas grenades, because if I accidentally run into their path, that's an instant kill. And in this level, you do not want to make that mistake, because there aren't very many checkpoints in this stage, and a single mistake can cost you 2 minutes. Like that one would have cost me 2 minutes had I run into the gas grenade cloud before I grabbed the key card, which triggers the checkpoint. So Okay, that was a little awkward. So there's a scientist here. Okay. Want to get him as quickly as possible because I'm being attacked from two different directions, and those guards, the damage adds up pretty quick. So that scientist there, it's kind of random if he runs or not. Really don't want him to, because then you'll be chasing him into here, and it can kind of complicate things. Because as I take care of this test subject with a blessing, those two guards come in from behind me, and I've got to just roll past them at the same time. So it's a kind of a tricky ballet if it ends up being that way. It's perfectly doable. The one thing I recommend is don't go to the top of the stairs. Kind of stay near the top and just wait it out. Let the scientist kind of come to you in that circumstance. So now we're in the library here. And this is actually one spot where I don't mind the guards shooting at me, because this will trigger enough guards to make this next section a little easier for me. So I'm going to take out this guard because he's got a flak jacket. If I hadn't taken damage, I might have tried to run past him, but not a big deal. So I'm going to come up to this catwalk here. There's going to be, I believe, one guard waiting for me. If you take out the guards on your way to this window, more guards will appear in the windows to the side. So we just want to ignore them as best we can and just move on. So we got two guards in here, and one of them accidentally set off a gas in one of the chemicals. So that was RNG, but I'll take it. So we got another scientist here. One thing I didn't really emphasize is how you roll off of the ledges here will have an impact on how you land. You want to do it such a way where you roll off the platform and then kind of land and have Gabe continue running without skipping a beat. If you do it too early or late, Gabe will kind of land awkwardly and he'll kind of do like a stutter to sort of gather himself, and that costs about 2 seconds every time he does that. And sometimes it can't be helped, but whenever possible, you don't want that to be standard. Like here, it's fine. You know, you really can't do anything about that. But elsewhere, you really don't want to make that a habit. So the end of the stage coming up here as we head down to the middle of the stronghold. And a solid level overall. There really weren't any major mistakes. A couple of missed interactions here or there, and one awkward scientist, but overall very solid. So this next mission is basically a rerun of the previous one.
I'm finding Farcom and W. Chat.
There are 4 test subjects and 9 scientists that need to be taken care of. The test subjects will be handled in the first half of the mission. Now, there's a scientist up ahead, and I'm going to sort of lure him out. I'm going to deal with him later because he runs on a particular pattern. So I'm just going to fire a bunch of random shots with the 45 just to kind of get his attention. And you see the blue dot to my to the left. That's the scientist. So now I'm going to swing to the left here, and I'm going to take care of this test subject and kind of go all the way back. And this guard here appearing, that's random. The guard appearing, but it had the added sort of side benefit of that scientist being alerted to my presence, so I just took care of him from a distance. That scientist that I just took care of, he's the most random of all of them, and he's also probably the most dangerous because scientists are actually pretty good shots in this game. So, but this scientist I'm about to take care of, I'm going to basically play into his spawn point and get him, because his presence is triggered when I reach a certain point on this railing here, and he'll appear, and he would actually be running toward me if I were going the opposite direction. That scientist that I lured out, he's taken care of as well. So, we're on our way. So the last test subject is coming up ahead. He won't be too difficult to, as far as that goes. And then you can go for the listen to Markinson talk, but I find it's actually about a second slower. It kind of throws your momentum off. You're better off just kind of waiting it out and then just doing the interaction skip. The only reason I actually stopped to talk to Markinson at the beginning of the first Stronghold mission is it actually is faster. Because of the close proximity to those two test subjects. So we use the G18 on the scientist here because it has the highest fire rate in the game. And his patterns are pretty random. You don't know really which direction he's going to go. That was a good pattern, him kind of going clockwise there. But again, he can go in about 3 or 4 different directions. You just kind of have to run with it and adjust as needed. Let's switch to the PK-102 here. Want to save G18 ammo as much as possible, so it'll come in handy towards the end of this section here. So another scientist is going to pop up. I'm just going to slip past him and leave him there. He's not going to move. Once you interact with them, they drop to their knees and, you know, basically put their hands behind their head. So those two guards there, they're dangerous, but I can just slip past them without really having to worry. And there's going to be another scientist coming up here. He's going to come around the corner. There he is. Now, it's very rare, but that scientist can actually sneak up behind you. If he does, you really got to be careful. You're better off just, you know, emptying an entire clip of the G18. Otherwise, you're going to get into a shootout, and you're probably going to lose because you're out of position. I'm going to switch to the PK-102 here for this next section, just to help me get a little bit of extra length on some of these rolls I'm going to be doing. So I'm just going to slip past these guards. I'm not going to deal with any of these guards until I get to the scientist here at the end of this winding path. It'll be the last scientist of the stage. Now, how the scientist interacts, if he's running or not, is kind of random. This time he didn't run. Well, this time he did run, so I just had to deal with that. Not a deal breaker either way. So now we come to the Catacombs, which is the most infamous stage in the game, and for good reason. Because it is extremely irritating, even you're playing casually. Actually, probably especially if you're playing casually. For speedrunners, there is a kind of a method to the madness, but
Security has been breached. Roma has ordered
it's not something you want to deal with, though.
All of Romer's underground
So,
security
such
is
as it is.
activated. You must follow the guard and let him open the cell.
Now the reason I'm letting this cutscene play out is
standing by.
scientist's movement has it makes no difference if the scientist the scientist's walk speed. He goes the same speed no matter what. So all I have to do is, stay close to him and not alert him to my presence. So I'm just going to slip past and just deal with the guards as they come up. So there's really no way, unlike the Fagin section, to make this go faster. You just got to deal with it. So it's the most I always call it the most boring 2.5 minutes of the run. There's really not much to do other than take out a few guards and follow the scientists. I'm gonna slip past here and go around. Just do enough crouch rolls so those dots are outside the first square. That guard there is probably the most dangerous just because the headshot reticle seems to be a little off-center. I think it's because he's a little taller or something. Whatever the case, it can be a little tricky, so... Otherwise, pretty straightforward. There's gonna be one more guard here, although sometimes he doesn't appear at all. We've never been able to figure out why. Let's chalk it up to randomness in the game. So, I'm gonna manipulate the camera to get this guard to appear on my screen so I know where to shoot, or when to shoot. I'm going to pick up the G18 here because this gun is going to be very useful in the next section. So my ammo count is kind of blah with the PK-102, which I'll be leading off with. So now we come to the second section, which is escorting Fagin to Leon's cell. And Fagin is really difficult because he kind of marches to his own beat and you really have to kind of manipulate him to move in the way you want to, but sometimes he still won't. So the trick is to kind of learn how to manipulate him and sort of adjust as needed. So I'm going to take out these two guards here, and so it's like, so that guard ran into the corner, so we're just gonna slide past. Now some of these guards will actually go after Fagin, so you gotta take care of as many of them as possible. Pick up K3G4 here as another safety, because there are going to be several guards toward the end here that are wearing flak jackets. So come on, Fagin, let's go. There we go. Like I said, these guards, Fagin has a mind of his own. You'll just kind of have to run with it, and kind of hope for the best. And that's not really exactly a very good strategy, but with Fagin, it's about the best you're going to be able to do sometimes. Even with the theory strats that Baron Haynes, a former world record holder and a long-time Syphon Filter speedrunner, has developed, there's really only so much you can do. So there's going to be two guards up ahead here. I'm going to take this one out, and then I'm going to run ahead and take out the guard up ahead. And just to kind of keep Fagin moving. So that'll lead to this final section, which, again, more manipulation. I'm going to ignore the guard at the top here, and I'm just going to slide ahead. Hopefully Fagin will start running, and he does. Good. Good. So I'm switching to the K3G4 here to deal with these final sets of guards, because about half of them are wearing flak jackets. So just one more guard up ahead, probably. Yep. Ideally, if you do that right, there are no guards here at the end. So, not great. That could have gone a lot faster, but Fagin, you know, is Fagin sometimes. Fagin does what he wants. Now, at least with Leon, I can actually manipulate this a little bit.
Check your fire.
Basically, if you wound her to a certain point, instead of stopping to, you know, deal with these guards and getting into a bunch of firefights, she's gonna run straight through to the finish of this game, of this stage. And all I have to do is just stay close enough behind her where she keeps running, and she'll do the rest. And I'll take out some guards here or there, but mostly I'm just going to ignore them, because they're not really going to be able to do very much damage to me. The only ones I'm really going to take out are ones who can give me flak jackets in spots. Like as I come around this corner here, one of those two guards I'm going to deal with has a flak jacket. Okay, I only got one. No, I got him. So there's going to be a few more guards here on the railing. Okay. So now I'm just going to switch to the G18 for this final section. Just got to be careful with these guards because if you're shooting at them, you might accidentally hit Leon in the process. Obviously, you don't want that. Especially she's doing a pretty good job clearing a path on her own. So now it's just a straight shot to the finish. But ignore these guards here. Leon can deal with them. I just gotta get to the cutscene. Trigger the cutscene.
There's someone up ahead.
Please.
Down goes Fagin. Mara has taken care of him. So now we come to the final section of the game, the warehouse and missile silo. The first warehouse stage has quite a few random elements here with the guards and the weapons they carry. So, you know, here I got a PK-102 and a combat shotgun, which is actually what I wanted to see. I also took some damage, unfortunately, in the process.
Erickson, move.
Who are you? What do you want?
I'll ask them.
So, nothing too big there. But there's a flak jacket coming up that I'll be helping myself to. Now you're supposed to pick up a firewall scanner to tag crates that have the test subjects in them. We don't need that because there's no RNG to the viral carriers.
I check.
So the shotgun gets a little bit of use here early on with these guards, just mostly to help clear a path because it's still more powerful than the PK-102. And PK-102 I want to save as much as I can for future stages. Mostly I'm using the PK-102 early on here for interaction skips. The shotgun will do most of the work in this stage, unless needed otherwise. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and play this. The damage is a little worrying, but I should be okay. So I took out those two guards there. So yeah, whatever weapon these guards are carrying is actually random. It could be PK-102 or shotguns. You kind of need, and like I said, you need a little bit of both there to get through. It's not a deal breaker. If you get more of one than the other, you just want a little bit of both, so you can do interaction skips and kind of clear out the guards. Because until the end, none of these guards are wearing flak jackets. So I just waited for that guard to Fagan's guard, the guard in the white, to be taken out before I blew up the fuel barrels. Then the guard would have turned his attention to me, and I don't want that. I want these guards basically to ignore me as much as humanly possible, and while there's some RNG to that, you don't like get into active firefights too often, they're not going to pay attention to you. So there I just threw a grenade to basically get the guards to disassemble, but also to get Romer's men, the men in the blue, to get into a firefight with these guys while I kind of shimmy across here undetected. Now, how they behave as I get off is random, but you just gotta roll with it and hope for the best. Now that was not a good pattern. That guard kind of paying attention to me there is not what I wanted to see. So I basically went for the safe route, which is going right. Normally you go left. So I'm gonna throw a grenade in the corner here. These 3 guards are gonna spawn, all with flak jackets. One of them is throwing grenades, and he is going to throw grenades. So I'm just gonna slip past. This guard is shooting at me, but he won't be able to hit me from here. So that worked out pretty well, in spite of the safe strat. Safe strat costs about 5 seconds, but you know, given the choice, you know, sometimes you just gotta run with it. So from here, it's pretty straightforward. There's gonna be 2 guards that appear at a fork, and their behavior is a little random, but generally they're going to run ahead of me, and I'm going to run past them and then slip past 3 more guards waiting on the other side of 3 fuel tanks. Or 3 fuel barrels, excuse me. So this is a good pattern. So, first guard. Yeah, those, yeah, the first guard that I passed actually set off the fuel barrels. Very minor chance that they could get me, but it's pretty remote. It's like not even 5% chance. So not something I'm particularly concerned about. So yeah, so there's a little bit of awkwardness here or there, but not too bad.
Leon, I found shipping manifest for parts.
So a solid level overall.
Leon.
Now this set level is the first where every guard I encounter from now on is wearing a flak jacket, so headshots are critical. Because otherwise I'm going to be burning a hole of ammo. Normally those guards actually see me and start shooting, but this time they didn't for some reason. So I played it a little stealthy here to kind of set up the next section. So there's going to be 2 guards in particular I'm going to be worried about. One is carrying a shotgun, the other is carrying a Biz 2, which is a 66 round submachine gun, and that guard that just clipped me is the one that is the one with the Biz. So those 2 are a dangerous combination, but if I play this right, I'm not going to have to deal with them at all. Ignore these 2 guards. That guard slipped past. So rolling will allow me to avoid taking damage for a few seconds. So it worked out pretty well. So there's supposed to be another way you're supposed to go about this. This is kind of a shortcut, but it's obviously about a minute faster than the so-called intended way. You go across a very narrow bridge. So this final viral carrier is protected by this guard who's carrying hand grenades, and you want him to throw the grenade so that he takes out the 2 guards, ideally. So, but unfortunately that was not the case, and only one of them was taken out. If you do it right, you get both of them at the same time. But not a big deal. I'll just take these flak jackets. I'm back up to speed. Shoot fuel tank, the fuel barrels on this one to get rid of this guard. I'm going to switch to the K3G4 to kind of just help me speed through this next section here. Getting rid of these 3 guards. And I'm going to switch back to the PK102 for the final section of this. Now, this is kind of a new strategy. This guard here, I'm just going to slip past, ignore altogether, and just ride on through to the end. Normally, I would take both of them out, but it's really not necessary.
Warehouse 76. The entrance to the silo.
So that second grenade that actually just went off, that's a random cutscene ender. That saves about 2 seconds. But basically, either way, this triggers another, fiery inferno, Warehouse 76. So now I have to get to the elevator shaft in Warehouse 76 to get down to the caves. So we have another fire skip, and there's going to be another one at the end of the stage here. But so cutting through those flames saves about 1 minute, because you're supposed to go through this whole long process, but we don't have time for that. I'm going to take out this guard here. There's going to be 3 guards that appear. I'm just going to wait for them to drop and then just take them all out at once. So I picked up a Biz kind of randomly there. I don't usually pick it up until the next stage, but we'll take it. So the second fire skip in this stage is not that dangerous. You just got to be careful with your positioning. Now there is an elevator skip you can do here where the elevator will start going down if you don't actually land on it. The problem is you run the risk of soft locking.
I found the elevator down. Did you reach anyone?
So if you see anything weird happening with the camera, like it's shaking or Gabe is not talking here, that means you soft locked, and that's fatal. That's really only for if you're trying to shoot for a 1 hour flat or 101. That's about the only time you'd ever go for that. There are a couple of other fire skips you can achieve, but again, very dangerous. And you're already playing pretty low on health as it is. So we're now in the silo tunnels. So I'm going to slip past these guards here. I'm going to hug the wall and hope to get these guards to not chase me. Not a bad result. So I'm just going to slip past and I'm going to grab... The way I approach that ledge helps me climb before Leon comes in to talk to me, and that saves about 4 seconds. I call it the Mara skip because it's all about Mara telling you about the lasers, which becomes the sort of the MacGuffin of this level. We have to basically disable the laser grids so that we can actually get to the missile silo where Romer is plotting his attack. So the Biz 2 is probably the second best gun in the game behind the K3G4. It is a 66 round magazine, so basically I can just spam my way through a lot of these guard encounters within reason. So yeah, I just slipped past a guard throwing a grenade there at the end on the other side of that ledge, so got around that. So now this section up ahead, it used to be done very differently before I accidentally discovered a way to make this go so much faster. Normally you'd have to deal with a bunch of guards after I turn on the auxiliary switch here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger that switch by throwing a grenade instead of interacting with it directly. So the game only makes guards appear if you physically interact with the switch. Since I did not, the guards don't appear, and I can just go on with this stage. And this saves about 40 seconds. It definitely takes out one of the more dangerous sections of the game, because a couple of those guards are carrying grenades, and you really do not want to be dealing with them. There was a whole rigmarole about how to do this, and it really was not worth it. So yeah, this way is much faster. So unfortunately, I took a lot of damage there, ignoring those 3 guards, but that's all right. There's going to be 3 more I'm going to deal with at the end of this stage. And you have the option actually of ignoring them as well, but after taking that much damage, I'm just going to deal with them. If I hadn't taken any damage, I might have risked it. So basically, once this last light appears, ceiling light appears, that's the spot where the guards will appear. And the guards movement is pretty random. This time, they all just lined up for me, which is pretty nice.
I've made it into the power room. I'm going to try to overload the generator.
Be careful. I'm not
So
sure
I just
about
gotta activate these 3 control panels, and the level is
I don't have
over.
much choice.
Now I'm arming myself with the PK-102 because I'm gonna do another kind of skip here. The start of the next mission involves you climbing down a series of platforms to reach the bottom of this shaft. But if I roll in a specific spot, I can just skip a lot of that.
Right.
So line up here. Okay. If it goes perfectly, Gabe lands on it in such a way and actually grabs on the edge of the ledge, and I can just drop down from there. Instead, he landed on the beam, which is not a deal breaker. It's fine. It saves about 2 seconds if you do it correctly. Now, this level isn't that hard once you figure out that where all the guards appear and what their patterns are, but the end of this level can be really dangerous if you go for what we call the YOLO strat, where basically you kind of bonsai your way through the last 6 guards of the stage instead of like sniping them down one at a time and taking care of them. I'm not going to go for it here because it's a 90-second time loss, and it has a clearance rate of about 50% because it really is dependent on the guards' behavior and how accurate they are. If the guards are chewing you up before you get to the end of the level, you have no chance. Working on trying to find a more consistent setup, but so far we have not really been successful. We can mitigate some stuff, but otherwise it just doesn't work. So I'm just going to snipe these guards from a distance, and there's going to be 3 at the end here. There might be a 4th that appears. He does not, so I'm just going to use K3G4 and just take them all out at once. So now we come to the end, to the final stage, the missile silo.
Leon, I found the elevator down to the silo. See.
So this final stage has 2 major skips. One is called the silo elevator
Leon?
skip. That's early. The second is at the very end with Romer. All right, so now that guard, I let the guard throw the grenade because there's a small chance that it will drop and hit one of the 2 guards down below, which will save about 2 seconds if successful. It did not in this case. How the guards move is random, but generally the first guard I took out will always appear by the side there. So now we have elevator skip. So basically I'm going to run as fast as I can into the elevator. I'm going to roll out as I come out like this. So Gabe rolls in, rolls out. The game is mistakenly believing that I'm in the elevator, and for some reason you don't get torched to a crisp like you would be otherwise. So I can just carry on through and save about 8 seconds.
Gabe, I'm intercepting frantic calls from NATO command. They're tracking the missile's launch.
So now I have to take out a scientist with a key card, and his position is always the same place, but how he moves is a little random. So I'm going to switch to the K3G4 here, and I got plenty of ammo for him. So there's scientist number 1. I don't want him. That's the one I want. Took his key card. I got this guard. Biz guard behind me. Mild threat, but he's out of range. So now I'm gonna ignore these 2 guards here at the end, grab the gas grenades, because no other weapon will hurt Romer. Somehow wearing full armor. Okay, that was great. Uh-oh. Oof. Oh! That's unfortunate. That was a bad climb by me. So unfortunately, that also means I've just negated the silo elevator skip, because it really only works if you do it the first time. So that was an unfortunate death, but you know, still well under the estimate, nonetheless. So we'll make do here. So you kind of see now how much slower all of this is when you don't do elevators, when you don't do silo elevator skip. So,
Gabe, I'm intercepting frantic calls
so yeah, that was about a
from
90-second
tracking
mistake.
initial launch. All
So
European
this will
commands
end up being
reported to
about
DEFCON 3.
a 106 rather than about a 104.45 or so. So not my preferred choice, but you know, these things will happen. Now the scientist was actually much better behaved this time. So let's try this again. It also underlines my point of how death is very dangerous, it's very costly in this game. Okay, that time I got the interaction skip on the crate. That's what hurt. That's what really hurt me. So now I'm going to throw this grenade in a very specific spot because uh-oh, did it again. So for some reason, sometimes the grenades will ignite in midair in this spot. I don't know why. Nevertheless,
Leon,
Gabe is going. Bromer's going to run into this grenade, and that is time. 106.07. Again, without that mistake, this is about a 104.40 or so, I'd say. So that would have been a very solid time, but 106 is very good too, considering the circumstances.
What now?
First, we get the lab guy started
So,
on this disc and your
that
vaccine.
is Syphon Filter
I mean, all of
for
this.
SGDQ
What's happening?
2021. I hope you will consider this game. It's a fast-paced, entertaining
What's no
game
mean?
with a
I
lot
don't know.
of
With Marcus
interesting
and
little
that, I don't know if we'll
anecdotes
ever
and tricks. And it's a largely execution-based game. I mean, yes, there's some RNG, but it largely comes down to your routing and your execution more than, you know, a glitch here or a trick there. So I hope to be able to demonstrate this for you live remotely, I gather, in July, and I hope to be able to demonstrate this underrated gem for the PlayStation to everybody. So thank you for your consideration, and I hope to put on a good show for you all in July. Thank you.